and welcome to the Online Wine Tasting Club's Christmas special, filmed from here, live at the North Pole. Hooray!
Hemel
Hempstead, indeed.
So, hope you have a wonderful thing and realise what we go through for your enjoyment.
What are you in skiing?
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Good evening, Merry Christmas, and
Merry Christmas.
You may notice that somebody is missing. I'm afraid Jamie couldn't make it tonight. He had a few elf issues.
Oh, I heard he's been left on the shelf.
I thought it was about his low elf-esteem. God help us all. It's going to be like that all night. But anyway, very, very lovely to see you all, and I hope we're going to have a great fun evening. We have split this evening into 3 pairs, so 3 different rounds for 3 lovely courses or stages of the day.
So tonight I've got 2 opportunities to win.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
I've got to take this beard off. I'm so sorry. Anyway, so we're going to be going through 6 wines tonight. For those of you who've joining us for the first time, a very warm welcome. I'm Alex. This is Caroline.
Hi, I'm Caroline. And also, very excitingly, for the first time ever, we've decided to bring both our discoverers and adventurers together for one Christmas special. So it's lovely to have everybody in the chat. Everyone who joins us regularly, you will know that you can put your comments in the chat. The one slight difference tonight is we don't have the interactive tasting cloud because we have got this new system, and it's all very fancy.
It's very cool.
Where if you comment in the live chat about your tasting notes and everything else, we can show it on the screen. So it's like even more interesting.
It's even cooler. So we get to see the whole of it, not just the fact that one person has written badges 750 times. So when you're tasting the wines and you want to let other people know what you think the wine tastes like and what you think of it, just type it into the chat, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, and we can highlight it on the screen. I think Jamie, do you want to pop up someone saying evening all or something, and we can show you what that looks like? Look at that! That's cool. Hello, very good to see you. So
and this is so lovely because we can see who's there and who's commenting.
Exactly.
Oh, Kathy, it's lovely to have you with us.
God, yes.
And
it'd be great to be on skis over Christmas.
Go on. So when we started talking about doing Christmas special and started saying let's bring everyone together, have a bit of a party in December, well, it just felt really natural that I dressed Jamie and Alex up to look like total idiots and send them down the skiing slope. What I didn't realise is that they can both ski. So what I was going for is lots of clips of them falling over and looking like idiots.
Yeah. Knowing that we can ski, what we both realised that it had been for both of us somehow at the same time. It had been 9 years since either of us had strapped on a set of skis and gone on the slope. So it's more of a miracle that, God's sake, more of a miracle that we didn't fall over and make complete asses of ourselves. Thank you, Siri. That's delightful. But this is a wine tasting. So we are starting off with the first course. And, when you think about a good Christmas meal, we're not talking about breakfast because obviously what you're talking about is Bucksford and Prosecco or some English sparkling.
Go for a lovely champagne.
Just go for a champagne. Yeah, something delicious for breakfast. But now we're talking about the starter for your main course.
Yes.
So your main meal of the day. And what goes on in the Strander's household for a good starter?
Well, always a bit of salmon or smoked mackerel pate with a really nice champagne or English sparkling wine.
Of course.
And then, we don't tend to have starters with Christmas dinner, but we do serve white and red wine with the main because some people don't drink red, some people don't drink white. We go for something a bit more aromatic. But actually, I think the two whites we've chosen here are exactly the kind of things that I would choose to go with lunch for the white wine drinkers, because you've got the buttery style Chardonnays. So we've got the burgundy. And also a slightly more aromatic wine, and there's no better place for some aromatics than northern Italy. So we've got a bit of that as well.
See, I'm a big fan of Italian whites as well, and it's a we're behind. What's going on? Is everyone digging in?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad they're digging.
Oh, fantastic! Quite right. Snack chat, absolutely. The snack chat is legendary, and it's wonderful. Let's pour some wines. I'm gonna open this one up. But yeah, it's a wonderful thing. We tend to find ourselves in this quite often, this 1970s retro sort of some kind of a variation on some, like a prawn cocktail or a little salmon roulade or something like that.
Do you do a prawn
Yeah, I do occasionally.
You know,
there's a reason it was so popular. It's great,
it's
delicious,
yeah.
And you can snazz it up. But yeah, it is one of those funny things that turkey is a very delicate flavoured meat.
It is.
And that means that when we're talking about food and wine pairing, we typically, Jamie's always shouting at us going, don't overpower the subtle flavours of something. And a lot of turkey doesn't have much flavour.
Turkey is very delicate.
Yeah.
And, I think if you cook it well, it can be absolutely delicious. It doesn't need to be sort of that horrible dry meat that you sometimes hear about. But everything that you serve with it is
strong.
Really full on. You know, the chestnuts, the Brussels sprouts, the stuffing.
Big on gravies, big on everything. Yeah, it's all big stuff, and those are big flavours. So do you pair it to match with the turkey? And it's no wonder in a way that we think that turkey is a bit underflavoured, because when we put it in that context, when we only ever really have it in that context, and when we only ever have these things where you want to cook it all the way through and it ends up a bit dry, and there are people who do crazy things. I remember going around to otherwise a beautiful dinner at a house where they did a turducken. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
No.
So that is a duck stuffed inside a chicken, stuffed inside a turkey.
Yes, no, I have heard this. But
or 5-bird roast where you put partridges and
in the middle and
you do all sorts of things, and it's great, but it's very tough.
What do I mean?
Croissant. I was thinking a bit of pastry.
The little one, the little guy.
Yes,
Pea,
that one.
That one.
Yes, a partridge in a pear tree.
Oh yes. Him.
Yeah. So yeah, the multi-bird roasts are really tough to get right, because you have to try to cook that meat right in the middle without the meat at the outer edge, which is inevitably again the turkey or the goose going completely dry and flavourless. So low and slow is the technique for those kind of things. Tons of butter. Anyway, so this we're trying to do a pairing that can work with your seafood starters, but also stand up to that big main course.
Yeah.
So wines 1 and 2, two different takes on it.
Totally different takes. Shall I talk about wine number 1?
Yeah,
first?
let's hear about wine number 1.
Okay, so wine number 1, as I said, is from northeast Italy, and it's from a region called. Jamie.
He actually is here. We are joking.
He's not dead. Almost dead, but not quite. No, you're not on camera. Northeast Italy, and from the Friuli, obviously, because the wine's called Friulano, and the area in Friuli that this is from is the Colli Orientali, if my pronunciation is any good. And that's actually on the very northeast of this northeast region. It's the area closest to Austria of northeast Italy.
Yeah, and you're practically bordering onto sort of Croatia and things, aren't you, as well? Is it Croatia? No, it's not Croatia.
Slovenia.
Slovenia, yeah, that's right.
So it's really, really in the foothills of the Alps. So you've got all of that protection, but really mountain, like rocky, hillsidey terrain as well.
Fantastic.
And vines do really well when they have to work quite hard.
Yeah.
So this soil will be brilliant. And northeast Italy is famous for its very beautifully delicate aromatic whites.
For anyone who was on our Italian tasting that we did, a Northern Italy tasting we did a month or so ago, it feels a lot longer than that, doesn't it?
I think it was actually only last month.
It was last month, but we did 4 tastings last month, so that was hell on earth. But drinking all those wines for us. But yeah, we went up into right up into the Alps and into the parts of Italy that used to be Austria. But this
absolutely.
is steep slopes, granitic soils,
really,
and
really
all sorts of
steep
things.
slopes. And yeah, the soil is really quite pebbly, stony, so the vines have to work really hard to get down to where all the nutrients. So naturally, you get a lot more expressive grapes, full of flavour. And the winery is it dates back to about the 1950s when the owner emigrated over from the Istrian Peninsula, old Yugoslavia, now Croatia, and he bought vineyards in an era when everyone was selling vineyards. So he really saw something in this beautiful area of the world and fell in love with the land and decided to put everything into it. So they're now on their 6th generation. And what's lovely about this, and if Jamie hadn't nicked the bottle, I'd be able to show you, is that, he's coming back. Oh, he's come. Oh, look.
He's going to stick it. It's not going to be in focus, but yeah, okay.
Anyway, you should have a picture of it in your tasting booklet.
Yeah, indeed.
And the label is actually a map of an ancient map of the Friuli hillsides. Thank you, Jamie. So you can see there's lots of little words and lots of hills and everything else, and that's an actual ancient map. It just shows that the land is and the love of the land is such a huge part of this winery, which I really love. And they're really sustainable to the point where they put a certain amount of man hours into every bit of the vineyard to lower the amount of machinery that they're putting out there. And that's
expensive. That's what you got to realise, that if you want to make a decision like that, it has an economic effect on the wine.
Absolutely.
So,
at the end of the day, they're a business, right?
Yeah.
And we know that it's a lot faster, a lot cheaper to just put a bit of machinery
bloke with a
out
tractor
there.
through the middle. Yeah, clever tractor.
So many wineries are now saying, we put sustainability at the heart of everything we do. But these guys actually do.
Yeah.
Which I really like. What? Is Jamie dressed? Is he in PJs and that's why he's
Well, you'll see. You'll see.
Is
don't ask questions you don't want the answer to.
Yeah. Careful what you wish for.
Indeed.
So, yeah, I just think this is a beautiful wine from one of my favourite regions. This is one of my go-to regions for aromatic whites. And I think this is a great example.
It's beautiful. It's really aromatic, like you say. It's just got, when you smell it, it just bombards your nose, doesn't it? And that's
really is.
All of that stuff comes from the skin. So the cool thing about that part of the world is that the grapes are getting ripened by the sunshine, by the all of the effects that's having on them.
Completely, and they're protected by the Alps.
Yeah.
But they can also, from their vineyards, they can also see the sea, which is sort of just north of Venice.
And that moderates the temperature and everything.
And so it all moderates it.
Yeah.
And you kind of think, oh gosh, northeast Italy, it'll be quite cool. It's cool in comparison to southern Italy, but actually compared to us, it's still really, really hot in the summer. So the grapes get very ripe, and having that protection and the cooling sea breezes means that you do get
preserve this acidity. And the lovely thing is, when you look at these two wines on a map, this is quite a lot further south than the Burgundy. So you'd expect that this would have a bit higher acidity. And we've geeked out about acidity and the different measurements, but we're not going to do that tonight. All I'd say is that these are exactly the same. The Chardonnay, the Burgundy, and the Friuli, absolutely the same acidity. So both really cool. But you also, a lot of those aromatic flavours come from the skins, and those skins are what are affected by the terroir. Everyone's always talking about how is a wine affected by where it's made, and the middle of the grape doesn't get that. It gets ripe or it gets less ripe. But all of those flavours are affected by the wind, they're affected by the sea breeze, they're affected by the sunlight and the reflections and all the things that you get from where it's grown. And this gives a real sense of place to me. But very cool.
Interestingly, Alex, and without going too geeky, because this is
we do occasionally
discoverers and adventurers, so we don't want to scare anyone. But these grapes are macerated for a very short period of time before gently crushed. So will that help towards?
Yeah, absolutely. That brings the
expression?
flavours of the skins, like maceration. There's a fancy, complicated word for keeping the juice in contact with the skins. They'll be crushed and then just left there in contact before they're all pressed off, and you get the juice out, which is what we make the wine out of. The longer the contact is between the skin and the juice, the more of those flavours, those aromatic flavours that come through. And so absolutely.
Interesting. Any what are the comments, Jamie? What are people thinking about wine number one? Zip and zingy, lime and marzipan.
Yeah, lime's a great tasting note on this one. Absolutely.
But there is definitely, I've seen a couple of nutty marzipan comments. There is almond biscuits.
Yeah. Let's have another go on it.
Is that the wine or is that you guys? I'm not sure.
Nutty.
He's calling us nutty. How dearing me.
I know.
It's a bold move for someone dressed how he is, but anyway, there we go.
So please do ask any questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
We really want it to be as interactive as possible. It's all of our Christmas party tonight. Should we move on to wine number two then, Alex?
I think we should because for those who know me, and granted a lot of you don't, but hello, hello. It's only going a bit. Yeah, let's not go McIntyre across here. And I can tell this wine is white. This of it. Well, look, you can't do Christmas without doing Burgundy. You just can't do it. Can't. It's a tradition for me. I just thumped my microphone. That was very professional.
You can't do much without white Burgundy, in my opinion.
No. Yeah. But and when you talk about Burgundy, it goes everywhere from Chablis, which is right up in the northwest. That's that way on the camera, isn't it? All the way down to your sort of your Macon Village, right down the sort of south parts of Burgundy, and then in the middle you have this Côte Chalonnaise, and that's right on the sort of there's a town called Chalon, which is on the sort of a little dip in the river as it goes around, and this is the sort of the middle point of Burgundy. Now it's further south than some of the Burgundies we think of super ripe. Now, the further south you go, as we were just saying, the hotter you should be going.
Absolutely.
So the less acidic, but the richer fruits you should be getting. The sort of more riper, those really developed. When you pick up a piece of melon, it just goes, that smell you get when you have a piece of melon in the Greek islands. Those beautiful ripe fruits smells that you get. And Chardonnay expresses those so well. It's such great. I've heard Chardonnay described as the white wine for red wine drinkers.
Oh, I like that.
It's got enough. It's not just all about the crispness and the freshness. There's something meaty about it, and that's why I think it works just so well with that Christmas meal, because you've got so many strong flavours to contend with.
Yeah, Chardonnay works so well with Christmas dinner. I think
exactly, and I think the other aspect of it is Burgundy has been so. Oak's got such a bad name in the world of wine, hasn't it? For obvious reasons,
but I
misuse.
think that's largely because of over-oaked Chardonnay.
Over-oaked Chardonnays, yeah. And so here is something that doesn't even tell you it's a Chardonnay, and it doesn't tell you it's got oak in it, and yet it does. But it's so subtle, so
well integrated.
Yeah, and with these guys, what they do is they do a little bit of the new oak to get that really rich flavour coming through. But they do some in old oak and they do some in stainless steel, and then they bring it all together and they look at what the end result is. Yeah. So it's not shouting in your face, because oak is expensive. So it's a kind of show-off thing. So I've bought a load of new barrels and I've put my wine in it, and all you're going to taste is that oak, and it's horrible, frankly.
But also, the reason why really oaky Chardonnay got such a bad name is because a lot of winemakers, probably in the New World in Australia, weren't even doing the proper oak barrels. They were just putting massive tea bags of oak chips in the tanks.
Yeah, or worse.
To do it quickly and cheaply.
Yeah.
So, I went off Chardonnay for quite a while, because there was that trend in the early noughties, ABC, anything but
Chardonnay. Yeah, exactly.
And I rediscovered Chardonnay, ironically, through an Australian Chardonnay.
That is ironic.
Yeah, it is ironic.
Alanis Morissette would have something to say about that. What are you doing? Actually putting irony into this, yeah.
But it was a Chardonnay that had actually done oak properly. And when you do oak properly, it can only enhance the natural flavours of the wine and make it better.
You smell a plank of oak. You walk into an oak-built house, an oak-structured house. It's a fabulous smell. There's nothing to dislike about it. It's just,
but you wouldn't want to
balance.
Eat it.
It's balance. You would not want to eat in that house. No, it's not a gingerbread house. And this, it's the subtlest of touches, but it has those ripe fruits of your Merceau, but perhaps without that kind of struck match. So, you know, when you smell a struck match, a lot of those producers are going for it. Do you know what? No, I'm not going to go there. But yeah, what's the question? I can't see that.
14.5%
is strong for a white,
isn't it?
It is, and that's a factor of the fact it's south in France, it's south in Burgundy, and you know your Chablis are now getting up to 13%. So if you go a bit further south, it will get up to those points unless you pick early.
Yeah.
And if you pick early, the flavours won't be as developed, and it's not right. So it's tough.
I mean, I could talk about this all day, and what's really interesting is that, yes, Chris, you're absolutely right. You do get that heat from the alcohol.
Yeah.
But I think there's that acidity and that ripeness of fruit coming through to completely balance it out. And, you know, Jamie's favourite thing, there's balance. There is balance in this wine.
I think so.
But also because it's on the banks of the river, so often when you go further south, you need some kind of protection or some kind of water to help give those calming influences to the heat. Yeah. And because it's on the river, it's going to have some of that tempered breezes,
for sure,
and tempered effects.
And I think this feels a bit less ripe than many Merceaus and everything that I've had. But I would love to have a glass of that with my turkey. And I'm normally a person who drinks red wines with my turkey.
Yeah.
And it's very, very funny. We've got Christmas flavour swirl.
Wow.
Rather have two on the whole, maybe number one for
the extended family.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good point, isn't it?
You've got to remember who you're drinking
with. Christmas Day, you're not just buying for you. You're buying for everybody's taste, and that's why, you know.
Jamie is shaking his head.
Jamie never thinks about anyone else.
Treat yourself. Treat yourself. I see. It's like,
you know, my mum doesn't drink red wine.
Yeah.
And loves the Gewürz. So I always
there'll be a Gewürz at your dinner.
I always get her Gewürz because you want to make everyone happy.
Yeah,
right,
you do.
The table.
Christmas is about making people happy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And ultimately, you know.
Yeah, Jamie's looking a bit confused now.
Jamie, you have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. Surely it's mostly about making them happy, so they leave you alone to drink your rosé or whatever it is you're having with your turkey.
I've got a 15-year-old. She wants to get in on the action now.
Does she now? Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well. That's my ones are a little bit way off that one, I have to say. But
by the way, I did find I don't look old enough. My mum will only drink champagne. Kathy, she's obviously a very classy lady.
But they're such different wines. And what's quite funny was that they're really similar colours. And, you know, you find wines from such different parts of the world.
It was one of the first things I noticed. You expect the Northern Italy to be a lot lighter.
Super light. Your
lot
Pinot
more
Grigio.
sort of lemony in colour. But they're both quite straw, honey colours, aren't they? So, yeah, I think... Do you know what? I know one's mine and one's yours.
Yeah, both very cool, very different.
I would happily drink either of them. So I think it's...
hedging our bets.
But it's up to the people to decide. So how are we going to do this? Do people
have to
vote each time?
Well, I think I might try to do a little bit of something at the end because I hadn't...
No, we won't.
You know, we're using a new system for the first time, and I'm not sure quite what it's capable of.
I'm tracking the chat. It kind of seems a bit down the middle. It's kind of
down the middle.
What we're having. People seem to like them both.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it is that kind of. 1 or 2 depending.
Yeah, that's it. Two for me. That's the turkey wine. That really is. That's got that real richness. But actually, I might overpower my own choice for starter. Like if you have your subtle little seafood dish, that's a bit much. That would be very nice with it. So yeah, why not both?
Absolutely, it's Christmas.
Yeah, good point.
Sorry,
and then
I
the
buy
others
the
can
wine
have the
for
presents.
myself, Sophie. The others can have the presents. That's my kind of lady. No, I'm pressured into buying wine for everyone. I buy good wine for people I like now.
I think that's very fair. Look, before we move on to wines 3 and 4, for those of you who are regulars, you'll know that we have a wonderful lady who's often in the chat. I think she's there, Kathy, who is who was one of the founders of whose mum only drinks champagne. And if you're going to only drink one drink, why wouldn't it be champagne?
Well, Madame Clicquot.
Precisely, indeed. And she was one of the founders of a brilliant wine project called El Passion. And what we're doing over the course of the year, for those who are following along with us, you're getting a little insight into their vineyard operations, their winemaking operations as you go through a year. So they've been incredibly kind to just share with us some of their updates from the vineyard, and so we can see what's going on and what the vineyard calendar looks like from their point of view. So I think we're going to go to a little video, if that's okay.
Hi, my name is Kathy. I'm one of the founders and investors in El Passion Vineyard, which is located in the UK Valley in Mendoza, Argentina. And I'm also a member of the Online Wine Tasting Club, and I'm based here in the UK. What I'm going to do is to provide you with an update from the vineyard, which we're doing every month. So Argentina has now opened up its borders again, which means international travel is now possible, and some of our investors have been out at the vineyard over the last couple of weeks, and so I'm sharing with you some of the films and photographs they took whilst they were there. It's summer in the vineyard, and you can see the vines are looking green with lots of leaves and shoots forming a canopy. Grapes are starting to develop, and at this stage they're very small, hard and green, and they're developing aroma compounds and aroma precursors which will give the wine its flavours in due course, and it's also developing tannins which are very bitter at this stage. So for the grapes to develop and ripen properly, they need sunlight, warmth and mild water stress. We use drip irrigation to manage this, and it results in smaller grapes with a high skin to pulp ratio, which concentrates flavours in the grapes and makes better quality wine. Sustainability is at the centre of everything we do at El Passion, and this includes leaving some of the land in its natural state, which encourages native flora and fauna and leads to biodiversity in the vineyard. You can see this in the pictures, and you can also see we've had some animal visitors, including a fox, and there are birds making their nests in our brand new bird boxes, which are actually repurposed Magnum boxes. And our latest arrivals are some llamas who are here to stay. I'm going to show you a bit of film here from Twan, who's one of the founders of the vineyard, and in fact he was the guy that designed the initial sketches of the lodge for us. So here's Twan to tell you about what we've been doing with some of the winemaking.
I'm Twan Knipping here at El Passion. We're constantly experimenting with different ways in order to try and make better wines. One of the experiments we have here, we're comparing different ways of finishing the fermentation process of wines, and next to the traditional way of adding sulfur to the wine, we're here looking into adding rooibos and honeybush from South Africa to stop the fermentation process. These are natural tannins, and they're very interesting because in the world people are looking more and more for wines that are natural and are looking for additions to the wine that are easier on the body. 5% of the world population is allergic to sulfur, sulfites, and much less people are allergic to the tannins of rooibos or honeybush. So we're trying to make a similar quality of wine using a different way of finishing the fermentation process. And this is one of the experiments that we're conducting here, and we hope that it will lead to more different wines and hopefully also better wines.
So Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you all from myself in the UK and also from everybody at El Passion in Argentina. And we look forward to giving you the next update from the vineyard in 2022.
Anyway, so we're back with a totally normal person in the studio and not Will Ferrell. He looks so chuffed to be here. I'm going to ignore him. Wines 3 and 4. Wines 3 and 4. We are going for the reds. Now, I think we've made some quite controversial choices here because a lot of people go big. They go Bordeaux's, they go Amarones, they pull out the big boys for their Christmas dinner, and you're eating turkey, which doesn't taste of much unless, and I'm not plugging here, but we have a local producer around us which is called Copas. Copas turkeys are absolutely brilliant, and I'm not being paid to say that. Just honestly, go and try them. That changes your whole perception on this whole conversation. But you've picked a Zweigelt from Heidi Schreck. Is that right? Or Shrek?
Not Shrek. It is shockingly good though.
Oh my God.
So,
guess what most of the chat's about at the moment?
food and wine pairings.
I think your friend Ian is covering himself in shame.
Dear God. Hey, I put the beard on
there were
earlier.
bets happening, apparently.
Ah, were there? Okay.
Yeah, Magda won.
Magda won. Excellent. Well, we always appreciate a bit of Magda.
Well, yeah. Hey, side bets. So before we do, let's get the wine in the glass.
You've gone to the North Pole, or Austria, as it's always known.
So, yeah, but anyway, let's talk a little bit about.
Do I get any?
No, because you're mean to me. You can do this to me.
Hang on.
Anyway, we get off a tangent. So, Christmas dinner it's interesting, and I think it's the one time of year you can actually drink what the hell you want. You know, a lot of times we talk about these big boys coming out. You know, Chardonnay to pub at Christmas, Sancerre at Christmas, big Chablis at Christmas, Burgundy at Christmas. But I think it's because it's a day that we're out and you know we're hanging out, we're celebrating, we're getting together, and we want to drink the good stuff. So is it always about pairing the right food and wine, or is it just drinking delicious stuff that you're not opening every
no,
night?
it's fair. It's a treat yourself moment, isn't it? So like you know that's the good thing.
We've got to bear that in mind. And also Christmas dinner, like if you take Christmas during the day, it's such a higgledy-piggledy mess of food, like mince pies and chocolates in the morning, and then some little snacks.
In the morning?
Yes.
God. Wow.
Start off the block.
Terry's chocolate orange to get you going in the morning.
Okay,
No,
chocolate I'm not disagreeing with, but mince pies, okay.
Well,
all right, fair enough.
each their own. So you know, and you can go from anywhere, and you can. There's an argument that you compare Côte de Rhône with Christmas dinner. You absolutely can. There's an argument that you compare rosé with Christmas dinner, which I'm a big fan of because it's light, it's fresh, and everything in between. So where I've gone, you know, I think these two are kind of, if we're going for something, you know, a little bit on the lighter side, for that kind of balance, you know, that you don't want to be 16% alcohol, and then you finish it and you just sit back and you're done. Yeah. So I think the lighter reds, the thin skin, you know, the Pinots, the Gammets, the Zweigelts of the world are a nice, goes with everything.
Right. So for people at home who are trying your new thing, they're going, are we going to have a Chateauneuf? Are we going to have a Côte de Rhône? Are we going to have a Rioja? Are we going to have Austrian Zweigelt? What is Zweigelt?
Zweig, do you ask? So Zweigelt is a native Austrian grape. So this is Heidi Schreck. She's taken over the family business in 1983. She's got two twin sons who help her run it. It's right on the Hungarian border. But Zweigelt is this beautiful, light, fresh, good drinking grape. You know, you look at the colour, it's got a little bit more oomph to it.
Yeah.
Pinot Noir.
Yeah, if you look
and it's got
side by side, it's
got this,
quite noticeable,
you know,
actually.
It's got this richness. I say Zweigelt is very. If Pinot Noir and Shiraz had a baby and it was Austrian, you have Zweigelt.
Okay.
Can you say any different to that?
Could you tell we don't practice this?
Pretty punchy for an Austrian
Pretty
red.
punchy for an Austrian red. And if you're used to drinking your Austrian Pinot Noirs or your this is this is good.
Richness, nice spice to it. And 2018 vintage, so it's got a couple of years on it. So it's you getting a few of those kind of like those tertiary characteristics coming through. So there's enough acidity and the fresh lightness with your turkey. And then it's got the richness and those slightly tertiary flavours for the gravy, the pigs in blankets, that kind of stuff. And this is why I think it's a great middle of the Christmas table. And it's something for someone who likes something light, it does. Someone who wants something heavy, it's got enough about it. It's, I'm a big fan of Rioja doing that for people.
Yeah.
It just sits in the middle of the table and it does really well. This is a sits in the middle of the table and keeps everybody happy at Christmas bottle of wine. And this is why I'll be drinking this Christmas Day.
But it's not one that I would have ever thought to go for, and it's not a flavor profile that my mind just goes, oh, this makes me feel at home. It's I feel uncomfortable, but I feel everything works, and that's a weird thing to say, but it's not because I drink, it's just because I don't drink it very often, and it's got that kind of slightly licoricey, a bit grippy note to it that will cope well with that fatty food, but it's a funny, really interesting choice, and I like it. I'm intrigued by that.
So
where's the turkey?
This is an interesting comment.
Yeah.
Cheryl.
Thought it was too thin.
Sure to begin with, but the more she's tasting, the more she's getting that rich spice. And
it's that Shirazi pepper that's coming
that's
through.
Why you need to buy a case of it. So by the time you get to the 5th bottle on Christmas Day, you actually like it. Is that fair to say?
I think it is fair to say, because after the last 2 years, bloody hell, we deserve it, don't we?
Exactly.
And
the next year to come, quite clearly. Thank you, Omicron. But this would stand up to that, and it won't overpower the food.
And I think Austria is a fantastic, and it's a big wine grow region. It's the 7th biggest producer. Well, it's a big producer of wine, is Austria.
Yeah.
But not huge amounts of it gets out of it, and it's not something we see all over the place. And when we talk about Austria, I think a lot of the time we think about the whites, the Grüne Veltliners, and the Rieslings of the wine, and the Blaufränkisches and the Zweigelts and those kind of wines. They look scary. ZWE. What is that?
Yeah, it's fine.
And until you actually get it out of the bottle into the glass and give it a go, is this something that someone who's not a particular wine geek would walk through a shop and pick it up?
But that's the lovely thing about these kind of tastings, isn't it? Because you're not paying for a whole bottle of it; you pay for a taste of it, and a taste for 2 people, and that is a fascinating wine to taste. Because I wouldn't have gone and bought an Austrian red.
Exactly, and it's about getting cool different things. Caroline, Friano, me, Zweigelt, you. Chardonnay and Pinot Noir.
Oh, shush you.
So no, I get looking for these different things you can drink for Christmas.
Hey, I'm trying to be the crowd pleaser tonight, but I mean, look, you come up with it. You've got a choice between a beautiful Pinot Noir or an Austrian Zweigelt. Unless you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, or you're going to probably go for the Pinot Noir, aren't you? Because Pinot Noir is acidic, it's crisp, it is beautiful, it's rich, it's aged in oak but without being over oaked, and come on, that's just great. Even just from a sniff of that's my baby. I like that a lot. It's pretty good, even says Caroline.
What do you mean even says Caroline?
Because you normally gang up against me, don't you two? Anyway, it's
gang up against
well, this is just what you normally wear. I don't know why you're whinging about it. So he just hasn't got dressed into his normal clothes once. He spends all of his year hammering through little bits of wood and, making things, putting corks in bottles. Whistle as you work. Shut up, Alex. Anyway. But yeah, there's a reason why a lot of people go Pinot Noir with turkey. And it is... Again, exactly all the reasons you said about why Zweigelt works. Pinot Noir is I said earlier that Chardonnay is the red wine of white wines. Well, Pinot Noir is the white wine of red wines. It is It is softer. It is gentler. It is. It doesn't have that big smack you in the face kind of tannins. It is. It is a subtle, beautiful wine. And when you're eating a subtle, beautiful meat. I'm going to go a bit sideways here, yeah. But you know, it's a thin-skilled grape. It can't. Anyway, no. It's when you look at it, you don't get all the color, and it's hard to even get this amount of color out of Pinot Noir. You have to work the grapes quite hard, and part of that's improved over the years that have gone by. But in old days, Burgundy had to put in a little bit of, dare we say it, wine from Africa. Particularly places like Tunisia, they would put in a little bit of wine from grapes from there to try to add a bit more colour, to stop it looking like a rosé, basically.
Well, and you saw that in the New World as well. Even when they could get ripeness, you see, not so much. No,
85%
Pinot
Pinot
Noir
Noir
and a bit of Petit Syrah in California in the back end, just to give colour and richness. Because it's not, when you get it right, it's epic, but it's not an easy grape to grow. It's not an easy grape to manage. It's and that's why when it's right, it commands the prices and the.
Indeed. And here we are in a part of the world which, if it had probably had its own way, it would have ripped up every inch of land they owned and planted Sauvignon Blanc, because this is Marlborough. We're right there in this middle regions between the two islands of we're just on the South Island, and here we have these valleys which are really distant from any kind of anyone's of the cities. And in the old days, all that was grown there, all that was farmed there was really sheep. And so the sheep would roam these distant valleys, like you see in distant parts of Scotland and things. And farming becomes a proper kind of a trek to try to round up your animals from who the hell knows where they are. And so these poor sheep farmers would have to go from valley to valley, trying to gather them up, trying to get them into the right place. And this was miles away from anywhere else. So they would sleep overnight in these tiny little huts, which had little tin roofs. And those are the tin pot huts. And those same sheep-dominated valleys are now producing some epic value for money Pinot Noirs, because this is every bit as good as a lot of the Oregonian and Californian. I know, it is. For value for money, this punches hard above its weight.
It absolutely does. And what I kind of, for me, Pinot Noir, I like Pinot Noir. I can't be anti-Pinot Noir, but I like my New World style. This has got this richness. It's got the fruit. It's got the.
It has a bit of a tannin,
balance, but I'm not going to say that because it's got that. But I think it's a lovely wine. It's, for me, like Christmas dinner, maybe a little bit light, but
I mean that is the wonderful thing about wine, is it's all about personal choice.
What do I recommend for a Christmas ham?
Well, putting cloves in it and nice honey over it. Recipe. Okay, not recipe.
So Christmas ham, if you're doing that kind of like sticky ham with that sparkling,
but it's got a lot of sweetness on it,
and sparkling. Very kind of like, you don't want to be like a big yeasty champagne, but like kind of like an slightly off dry prosecco would be.
Or a carver, actually. Your off dry carver would work beautifully, wouldn't it? Yeah.
What else can you go? Christmas ham, as in doubt, if in doubt, pair it with Riesling. Off dry Riesling and ham. Oh, that makes me happy.
Actually, that would work.
Like a nice little Spätlese Riesling from Germany. Once again, low alcohol. I think sometimes Christmas we go after the big boys.
It's funny
low
because
alcohol at Christmas. It just means you're not dead on the couch at 2:00 in the afternoon.
So marathon, not a sprint.
Yes, what Caroline said. But yeah, I think with that, I think an off dry like Spätlese Riesling would be absolutely delightful with a bit of a Christmas ham.
Yeah. Okay, I'd go with that. But on these two, both cool.
We've gone.
Why? That's strange. Let me turn this off and see if I switched on again.
I've got something stuck.
Oh, there we are. We're back. The joy is that Jamie had not just one, but 2 wine tastings just before we started tonight. So So we had. I'll come and sort the focus out in just one second. It's actually just a reflection of what Jamie's seeing at the second. But yeah. So the camera decided to go to sleep. So sorry about that.
It's very tiring.
It is.
Very tiring filming me for
It
4
is.
hours.
It is.
I would have gone to
Indeed.
sleep. I've looked at me for 3 hours as well. To be
There we go. That's a bit better.
So, any thoughts in there? Any questions, comments, preferences?
Yeah.
What the idea of preferences?
What do people prefer?
Viola wants to know any red recommendations for ham.
Red recommendations with ham. Oh, and I saw it about something else as an off the beaten path. Sparkling Aussie. Like, so if you want to do that, the Darenberg, the Chambourcin Graciano Peppermint Paddock would be my
A
choice.
sparkling red. Yeah, because they do loads of sparkling Shirazes, and then there's the Darenberg sparkling red, the peppermint paddock, which is a little bit
Have
different.
that,
Very
serve
cool.
that chilled. And
But
that
actually,
would
Finn beat you to it. He thinks.
I saw that pop up, and that's why I'm nicking that.
I would go Pinot Gris.
But I'm putting it with ham instead of turkey, just to be, obviously a little bit different. I don't want to be, plagiarising tasting notes. That would be a bad
outrageous.
thing to do.
No, I just think your
Nick,
Pinot Gris would work. An Alsatian Pinot Gris would be beautiful with that.
Oh well,
I really do.
That's just
Worse.
Really.
It is a go-to. It is a go-to. So those are those 2 wines, and I guess hopefully you're split somewhere down the middle on both of them. Because I'm definitely intrigued by the Zweigelt. I'll give that one a go. I'm going to give that a go. So parents who are watching, be warned. There might be a bottle of Zweigelt coming your way if we're allowed to leave our houses after this 27th, whatever it is. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Caroline, has anyone got any favourites, any comments, anything we need to know?
I've been trying to show lots actually. Magda has voted. Apparently, Elf wins this battle.
Well, he has to win an occasional one,
Was shelf.
But also, lovely Jo Jarvis, who I haven't seen in the chat yet tonight. Hello, Jo. She's gone back to number 3, and it's opened up in the glass. She's getting more flavours, and it's edging ahead. So maybe number 3 just needs a little bit more.
A bit more time, yeah. It certainly was more tannic, that's for sure. And although I'd say that for a Pinot Noir, number 4, one of the things that I like about it is that this is quite a tannic Pinot Noir, and that's like saying this is quite I don't know. No. We're not going to go into inappropriate metaphors here, but yeah. Exactly. But they punched down the skins 6 times a day. That's hard work. It's a lot of work. Just manually going in.
For anyone at home, how often would people generally punch skins down a day? Because generally speaking,
look, each time that happens. So while our fermentation's going, while the grapes are turning all their sugars into alcohol and all the beautiful flavors, all the skins rise up to the top. And you have to try to keep those skins integrated with the mixture, or they'll overheat and the flavors go horrible. And so people either pump the juice from the bottom of the tank over the top, that's called a pump over, or they push the skins down with basically like a potato masher. In fact, in my case, with a potato masher, much to my wife's...
So,
actually a potato masher, but something that punches this crust that's forming down back under the water. You might do that maybe 2 times a day. 6 times a day is a lot. That's really working it. That's going for it to try to bring a bit of character into the wine from the skins.
And so if you do that with a Pinot Noir, you get some character in there. If I did that with a Cabernet Sauvignon, I'd end up with this massive tannic over the top.
Yeah, that would be
appalling.
Bad. That would be very bad.
Chewy.
Yeah, chewy. Exactly.
Well,
you know what? As with everything, there's both the people who are happy to comment. It's probably a split. So
great.
You need to work out a way of getting the vote.
Okay.
Well, everybody just needs to buy all 6 wines tonight and have them at Christmas.
Although Ian has gone for a very politician's answer. And he said, it's a tie. They both offer something different.
They do. He's right. He's right.
Yeah, but that's
But look.
Yeah, I pulled him up in the chat for a politician's answer.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's all very well. But look, red wines are one thing with your Christmas dinner. But for me, a massive part of the day is that I don't normally drink one kind of wine any other time of the year. And apart from when we're doing a production run for a certain unnamed wine company where we have to drink 500 bottles of them in...
No, you didn't.
Anyway.
You didn't have to.
Try. We had to taste 500 bottles of them in 2-day period. Anyway, that is port. Port is a wine that doesn't get enough love. Now, when we did our
It is
first
an
Portugal
important
tasting,
part
it's
of
an
Christmas.
important part of Christmas, and especially for me because it's that, someone else said it, it's where you get your leftovers out, your evening cheeses come out, all the crackers come out, your ham comes out, and a few bits get carved off, and everything all comes together into this. No other time of year do you get this meal, this fantastic, absolute smorgasbord of everything on the table at one time. And what do you get out? You get the port out. You bring the port out, and it is sensational.
And the angels sing.
And the angels sing, or Michael Bublé, or whatever you've got around. But yeah, and it's a fantastic thing. Is that why does port? Why do port and cheese go so well together? Is it just because they actually go well together, or because we've somehow associated them like this?
The answer, as always, is both.
Both.
Both. So yeah. Do we need to move on to the port
before
I
do.
start actually? Before we
Is
start talking too much about it?
an interview?
There might be.
Yeah, but we should probably get people to get the wines in the glass first.
Well, Deborah's already done both the ports.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not that one. It's not that one. It's that one.
So what we're going to do then is we're going to do the Sandemans against the Quaddies. I had a chance to talk with Mr. George Sandeman himself. So what we'll do is we'll get that.
Did he wear the cloak?
He didn't.
He didn't wear the cloak or the hat.
But so let's go to this interview. Get them in the glass, and then when you get back.
Good night, guys. I'm going to say good night, and I'll see you later.
Oh yeah, bye, Alex.
Bye. Happy Christmas.
In a simple way as possible, a little bit about the structure of port in terms of the different styles. It's actually quite easy because you have 3 types of port: white, ruby, and tawny. And it's a little bit like wine. You have white, red, and rosé. So you have this basic structure, and then you have a hierarchy in terms of young wines, which are usually around 3 years old, and what I would call entry level. So then reserve wines, which tend to be 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 years old, which is a little bit more complex, a little bit more full, a little bit more context to them if you want. And then you end up ahead of that with aged wines and dated wines. And so it's simply that sort of hierarchy. As you go up in complexity, obviously you also go up in cost. And this is because, like any pyramid, the higher you get, the less there is, and the more work it takes. So, I suppose if we're going to be talking about the Sandeman 10-year-old tawny. If I was to start by telling you a little bit about tawny ports, which are probably less known than ruby ports. Ruby ports cover the reserve ports that one finds normally in one shops, late bottled vintage port and vintage port. The tawny ports have been aged in wood, and this requires quite a lot of skill because the wood is used for creating this sort of gradual evolution from the very deep red, fruity, big red fruit plummy characteristics that you find in a late bottled vintage port. and that evolves in the wood. It slowly oxidizes, and in this case, oxidation is a very important part of the winemaking process. It slowly oxidizes, and that redness, that fullness, that plumminess evolves into something that is more complex, lighter, more in the character of dried fruits rather than fresh fruit, and it loses its color. The big red color becomes more tawny, literally a lighter red with hints of gold, hints of amber, depending on the age of the wine. And tawnies come in the same hierarchy. So very young tawnies, which are a little more like rubies that have got some oxidation to them and some evolution, and then reserve tawnies, and then 10-year-old, 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, and very soon people will start releasing 50-year-old tawnies. So these range from, you know, a 10-year-old tawny is very accessible in price. A 40 or 50-year-old will probably set you back, you know, 150 pounds or something like this. So one is accessible and you can probably enjoy more often. The other you definitely want to keep for a group of quite special friends before opening it, or to yourself before opening and drinking it.
The 10-year tawny is beautiful. It's got this great, you know, it's got elegance, it's got complexity, it's got bright fruit, it's got dried fruit. There's a lot going on. And what I like about this is that every time you go back to it, you find something else. There's something new in there. It's like every time, oh yeah, and there's that, and there's that, and there's that. And I think that's what makes a great glass of wine, you know.
It's true. And if I can just say one thing, if one has a bottle of tawny port and you have the space in your fridge, I recommend people to keep it in the fridge, not from a conservation standpoint, but from the standpoint of, you know, you suddenly say to yourself, I really want to treat myself to something special. What shall I have? I have that bottle of Sandeman 10-year-old tawny port in the fridge. Let me just pour myself a small glass of that. And then you just get all of the pleasure.
Anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure, George. Thank you very much. And we'll speak soon.
Take care,
cheers.
James.
Have a great
Thanks
day.
a lot. Take care. Thanks. You too. Bye.
All right.
Well, we got rid of Alex.
Hi, I'm back.
Caroline's back.
Sorry, and so's my Christmas tree. But Jamie has rather upstaged me tonight. Has anyone noticed? Hi. He should have worn the Grinch's costume, really, shouldn't he?
Yes. That's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about it. The things I do for a laugh, for everybody else at my expense.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway.
So I hope you found that insightful. Port is such an interesting thing. We can do a whole night just on port. There's so many cool things about it. You know, the different styles, you know, different grapes, the history behind it. It's absolutely fantastic. And if just having port is not enough, we're now seeing these port style wines from around the rest of the world. So this so much, I wouldn't say it's about picking what your favourite is. I think these are two vastly different styles. And then it's the right wine for the right style, for what you want to do. So obviously I picked the Sandemans because I had the opportunity to chat with
which was amazing, right? You came out of that interview buzzing, because to speak to somebody who'd been in like the port trade for so long, it was a real privilege to speak to him.
It was amazing and insightful and loads of cool information. And port can sometimes have this slightly air of like stuffiness about it, that it's an, you know, drink that your grandmother had, and we're starting to see the younger generation is now drinking more port, more fortified.
But it's interesting, isn't it? We had this conversation earlier in the week about what makes wine special. And what makes wine special is the fact that there is so much history and there is so much difference and there is so much to discover. And, you know, the same grape variety can taste totally different from one country to another. And
from one field to another.
Exactly. And that's that's why we're here, right? To talk through that and to help people discover new stuff and different wines and different vineyards, different producers, different countries. But port is just it's a huge love. And yeah, I forgot where I was going with it, Jamie. I got into that.
How long can you keep a bottle of port open for? I liked the guy's answer: keep it in the fridge and have a glass whenever the hell you want.
Yeah, so port needs to be drunk once it's opened. It's because it's got the extra alcohol and it's relatively, it's got the sugar in there, all that kind of stuff. It is better preserved than most of your wines, but if you open a bottle of port, you can leave it 6 months and still drink it, and it will be okay. But if you then put that against a bottle that you just opened, you will see a vast difference. And I turn around and go, there's port, and port sitting in the thing, and it's the line of what would I drink and what would I sell. So a port that's been open 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I would still absolutely drink it, but I wouldn't sell it to someone because it's lost a little bit of
the vibrancy of fruit.
Exactly. So it loses a little bit.
So just for people, Jamie, that are joining us for the first time maybe, and I think there's quite a few people, and people who are more on the discoverers than the adventurers side, port is fortified because there is
alcohol. I drink 4 to 5 a day.
Yeah, well, because spirit is added to it, right?
Absolutely. So it basically came around because British people wanted to get drunk, and when they put the wine on a boat and took it around the world, by the time it got to the other side, it had gone bad. It is no good to anybody.
Yeah.
So what they did was the best way to keep alcohol good is to add more alcohol. So what they do is this process called fortification. The wine starts to ferment, and then at some point they add grape brandy, which brings the alcohol up.
Okay, so it's specifically grape brandy.
Absolutely. And that takes the wine up to somewhere between 19 and 22% alcohol, depending on which port you've got. So that is fortifying it, which made it better for travelling and preserving it, all that kind of stuff. So that's why if you leave a bottle of port open, it lasts for a while, but it does drop down.
You do lose the fruit, yeah.
But there is, and port used to be all about room temperature, and now people are saying tawnies that you should drink chilled, and it's really, there's a lot of change in just fortify, Madeira, sherries, ports, they're all kind of, they're getting a little bit of a renaissance. It's kind of
cool, but so is sherry, isn't it? And that's really cool as well. But what I love about it is that there is so much more emphasis on how you serve it, and and as a complete comparison from another category, I go to cider because a rather famous cider brand boomed because of the serve it over ice. And so for us to be able to say, well, actually, this kind of port serves slightly chilled, this kind of port is room temperature, that's really, really interesting. And it just helps people enjoy the drink that little bit more.
But you remember, it's up to you. If you like your port chilled, drink it chilled. If you like it room temperature, drink it room temperature. There's nothing wrong with that. You've got to drink it as you like it.
Can I butt in with a question?
No, you said good night.
I can, because I'm in the producer's seat.
Yeah, and that is the most powerful seat.
He says he understands why you add the spirit, but then why add extra sugar?
Oh, good question. Jamie, what do you think?
So generally, you're not adding extra sugar. Generally, you're stopping the fermentation because putting the alcohol in, because most yeast can get to about 15%, but you add the alcohol, that stops the yeast fermenting it any further. So you've still got the sugar that was in there. So we're not fermenting all the way through to dryness and then adding alcohol. We're getting to the level of sweetness that we want the port to be, and then we're adding the grape brandy to fortify, to preserve, but that also stops fermentation.
Because the extra alcohol kills the yeast.
Yeah, it stops the yeast because the yeast can't survive above 15.
Yeah, because ports are normally a lot sweeter, a lot sweeter than other wines.
So I think, and I don't want to be quite as being wrong, generally when a port gets fortified, it gets to about 10-11%, and then they fortify it up.
Okay, so I know for a fact, because I looked, the Sandeman's is 100 grams of sugar per litre. So that's pretty sweet, because to be clarified, oh, hang on. I hope you can all still hear us. The camera's gone off.
Yeah, it's just the camera.
To be named as a sweet wine in the UK, you have to be above 45 grams per litre of sugar, and this is 100 grams per litre. So you're absolutely right. This is really sweet. But as Jamie said, it's less about adding extra sugar, and it's more about the winemaking process.
Sugar.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we've got the Sandeman's, which is your classic tawny port, and tawny port comes from the colour is tawny, and you're adding that extra oxygen. So really, you look tawny is that, and that's where you see the age of the 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years.
And what we learnt about in the video, that it's all about the oak and the decolorization.
Ruby, and then ruby is this kind of like big jammy.
Yeah,
sticky,
which is a younger style of port.
Younger, fresher, more about the big, bold, ripe fruits, and less about. And I'm not saying they're not nuanced, because some of them really are, but a lot of them are it's just big. It's much bolder.
Yeah.
And this is what I think we get from this port style wine.
Yeah.
And if you can't call it a port, what would you call it?
Well, you know what? I would go left field and call it starboard. Yeah. And so the number 6 is my wine again.
Yep.
The reason it's starboard is because it's the opposite of port on a boat, and it's because port comes from Portugal and this comes from California, which is the other side of the Atlantic. So, some very clever marketeer came up with it. Marketeers are quite clever, aren't they? Yeah, they are. Interesting fact: which way do you pass port round a dinner table?
I don't.
Okay.
To the left.
Do you put a straw in it?
It's all getting a bit personal. What I do with my
so
is my own
traditionally, I'm blessed to have been at a dinner with Paul Symington, off of the Symington family, which was a huge honour. I was sat next to him, and he told me all about the tradition of passing port to the left, and that's how you have to do it. And of course, because starboard is the exact opposite, they pass port to the right. So there we go. Interesting fact of the day. I like an interesting fact, don't I?
I love it when you come to the table with an interesting fact.
Yeah, exactly. This is from Quaddies in California, and San Joaquin Valley, which is in the central part of California. I'm asking you and telling you. And so originally these guys that started Quaddies sold fireworks, and then they went into winemaking, but actually they only make dessert wines and fortified wines, which is a really interesting area to go into. Yeah, but I have only just put 2 and 2 together and realised that Quaddies make my favourite ever value for money dessert wine that I discovered about 25 years ago when I first worked for Majestic, which is Essentia Orange Muscat. I blooming love it, and I bought it first Christmas I worked for Majestic. I bought it for our pudding, and I've loved it ever since.
And that was Andrew Quaddies' first vineyard, was his Orange Muscat vineyard. That it was, no one did anything with it. It was just all straggly, not looked after. Whatever. He's like, "Can I do something?" People are like, "No one does anything with Orange Muscat over here." Like, whatever. So he does that. He does a black Muscat.
The black Muscat is amazing as well.
2 phenomenal vermouths.
Great comment here from Jason, who has an appropriate surname as Porthouse, which is the Quaddie tastes a bit too sweet compared with the depth and complexity of the Sandeman.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, Jason, because I did look at the residual sugar on the quaddies, and that's 130 grams per litre, so it's 30% more. So you're right, it's sweeter.
Facts and maths.
I know. Check me out. But you know, they kind of say it's between the ruby and the tawny style. I think it's much more towards the ruby style,
I
personally. And I'm not one to disabuse the winemaker of their tasting notes, but that's my personal opinion. But I think in terms of that younger, fruitier, vibrant port style that's probably more appealing to more people, I think this is an absolute winner.
No, I think they're both great. They both sit stylistically where they should be.
Absolutely, yeah.
They're both absolutely delicious. But what are the thoughts in the chat, Alex? Have we got some?
There's a lot. I'd say it's coming out in favour of the port of the Sentiments.
Oh, interesting.
Which is really interesting.
That's not what we thought, actually.
Not what we thought at all. But John T here says number 5 is more fun, but only a small quaff at a time. Number 6 would work for getting through the full Stilton.
John T, we have to get together.
With
the full, well, except I'll do a different cheese. I don't do Stilton, but yes, I'm all for getting through the whole of it.
But then Magda says definitely numbers 5. The additional years have made it smooth.
Oh, well, you know, Magda, she knows what she's talking about, doesn't she?
She does.
Absolutely. But I think what it shows is there are 101 different choices you can make for your Christmas dinner. You can pick what you want, get it on your table, share it with people you want to share it with, and have fun with it. Try something new. Come on, when you come back and see us in the new year, let us know what you had at Christmas.
Oh my goodness, absolutely.
What the thing you did. You know, when we come back in January, we're going to do tasting. We're going to do a trends tasting of what we think might be the cool thing to look at.
But we're also doing dry January.
Very much dry January.
Oh, not really.
Dry white, dry red, dry gin, dry martini.
So this was a real challenge. We were like, okay, last year we definitely suffered because of dry January. So let's do dry January our way. So we are.
We are indeed. We are indeed.
Do you want to talk about the mega superstars taste?
No, not really.
No, because I need some left for me. So we have. It's not a show, so you can do it in your own time. But I dug around and shouted at people and said, "Please give me some really bloody cool wines." Because
don't swear, Jamie.
Cool wines.
Wines.
Hey, it's past 9 o'clock now, so I can. It's all right. And he's going to say poor.
Nothing beats good Sauternes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, I'm going off here. So I kind of shouted around and tried to find some really, really cool wines that I would just love to drink, but couldn't always fathom opening an entire bottle of to drink by myself. But what if we could allow people to drink some really, really cool wines? So we put together a little tasting. Okay, it's 50 ml samples. A couple of whites, a few reds. There's some Favorite Clos Vougeot in there. So we've got some Grand Cru Burgundy.
It's amazing.
We've got,
oh my God. And my absolute, I've always wanted to try a Super Tuscan.
We've got,
got one.
I know. We've got Ornellaia in there. We've got Tyrrells. And I know if you've been on our tasting, we've done Tyrrells before. But they do a hand-pressed Semillon, which is their top
super premium.
Maybe my favourite white wine made in Australia. Absolutely phenomenal. We've got a Grosses Gavex Riesling in there, which is top of the pyramid from light.
So exciting.
What else have we got in there? We've got
we've got other stuff.
Oh, we've got
Grand Cru Clos Vougeot.
We've actually because
that's what I started with.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. But when this idea started off, it was because we were like, oh, we've seen emails about this one and that wine. And we went, what about doing a tasting pack for all our bucket list wines? And so that's where it started. And of course, the one wine that had to be put in was Alex's Clos Vougeot. And for those of you who don't know, it's where he started. Alex started his wine journey at Clos Vougeot in Burgundy.
I didn't like wine until I had Clos Vougeot.
And how old was he, Jamie?
13.
Yeah, he was 13. So it's no surprise he is where he is now.
But yes, so
we should finish up soon, though.
We got a very, very limited amount of this one. I think we've got about 60 tasting packs total. So
it's so limited. But you know what? If this one goes really well,
tell us what you
we
want in the
have
next one.
huge plans for lots more one-off tasting packs like this. There won't be a live show for it, but there will be tasting notes. You can taste in your own time. You can buy the wines afterwards, and it's all about trying to help people discover new wines in whatever way you like to.
The tasting packs are ready to go. So if you order them now, you will get them in time for Christmas.
Absolutely.
So get them ordered and get them for Christmas.
Can I have one?
Have is a very no. You can buy one, absolutely. Penfolds Grange. We
really tried.
We on our next one, we are going to go after either Penfolds Grange or Henschke Hill of Grace to go in there. We tried to have a little bit more of a tour with having the one Australian in there with the Tyrrells. But there's so many of these amazing wines.
Again, Jamie, isn't it the case that if this tasting goes well, we know that people want it, and we can actually. The thing with really fine wine, you have to put your name on the list for allocations when the vintages are released. So if we know that this is going to be a thing, we can absolutely put our name on the allocation list way ahead of time. So the more support we have now, the more amazing wines we can bring you in the future for bucket list tasting kits.
Absolutely. So let us know what you want. Do that. But it's been so much fun tonight. I hope for those of you who have generally done Discoverers, you get a little feeling of where we're going with Adventures. For those of you who've done Adventurers, you've seen a little bit of a lighter side of what we do. But more than anything, I hope you've had a great time, had a little bit of fun. If anyone has any better costume ideas for me, that would be most appreciated. Please, I would say send them in, but no, don't do that.
Definitely send costumes in for Jamie.
It's been a fantastic year. It's very strange that we're doing our second Christmas special that we've
It's
got
amazing. And do you know what?
Christmases.
It's amazing that I'm actually allowed in the seats this year rather than behind the screen. So, allowed.
But no, thank you very much. Thank you for all your support. Obviously, have you got prices, Mr. Taylor?
Oh, yeah, I do.
We didn't do the jokes.
Okay.
No.
There.
So,
there we go.
There we are. So you
Wine was the cheapest.
You can buy all the wine from our website. Right. Get it in, get it bought, and we can get it. If you order today, you can have it in time for Christmas, so you know what's going on. And also, there's other wines from our previous tastings. If you've liked them, get them again.
Totally. And, this tasting, because this tasting was so popular, we only have a very few bottles of each wine left. So if you like them, order quickly, because we are going to sell out, I promise. So, yeah.
Everyone wants you in a badger costume.
Yes! When you say everyone, do you mean Magda?
No, everyone.
Okay, everyone.
And Viola's favourite was number 2.
Oh,
yes,
boo!
Number 2.
Did anyone like number 1 or number 6?
Probably,
kind of.
But do you think this is a good time for us to thank everybody? Tell everyone to have a wonderful Christmas, holiday, whatever you're celebrating. Have fun, stay safe, look after each other, and we will see you in the new year.
Happy Christmas!
Happy Christmas! Bye!
Bye!
Santa baby, slip some napper under the tree for me. I've been an awful good guy, oh Santa buddy, and hurry down that chimney tonight. Santa buddy, a case of shadow decan, for them. I'll wait up for you when Santa buddy, you hurry down the chimney tonight. think of all those tastings I've missed. I think of all that burgundy I never sipped. Oh, next year I could be just as good if you check off my Christmas list. Santa Pally, I want some DRC to treat me. You see, I've been a sweetie all year, Santa buddy, so hurry down the chimney tonight. Santa buddy, one thing that I really do need, the key, oh, to Oz Clock Cellar. Santa Pally, so hurry down the chimney tonight. Santa buddy, fill my stocking with Pinot Noir ce soir. Could it be Premier Cru? Oh, Santa baby, so hurry down the chimney tonight. Come and trim my Christmas tree with some decorations bought in Puligny. I really do believe in you. Now let's see if you believe in me. Santa Poppy forgot to mention one little thing. Wine from Tring, they'll deliver to your home, Santa buddy, so hurry down that chimney tonight. Hurry down that chimney tonight. Oh, hurry down to Tring tonight.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful Christmas, happy holidays, whatever you're celebrating, and we'll see you again in the new year.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas.
You're a ho, ho, ho.